Hey everybody, I'm Angus,
I'm Zach.
and we are here to talk about our favorite movies of 2019. We're kind of late on it, but we had to make sure we saw everything, and we're doing this now. And I don't feel like doing a long ramble, but pretty much just, this is our personal opinions. We'll run through a couple honorable mentions, and then we'll jump into our top 10s. Do you want to run through a couple honorable mentions first?
Yeah, sure. For me, first honorable mention is Knives Out, Ryan Johnson's new movie. Really good murder mystery, really good ensemble cast, really, really fun, really good. And then First Love, Takeshi Miike's latest movie.
Okay.
We saw that at TIFF.
Yeah,
that was
the midnight one.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Not as graphic or as gory as Ichi the Killer, but kind of, I don't know, I'd say tonally it's kind of the same.
Yeah, it's just as zany as a lot of his other stuff.
Then Arctic, really, really, really good survival movie with Mads Mikkelsen. Then my favorite comic book movie of the year, Shazam. I love this movie. Still love this movie.
I actually kind of thought that was going to be in your top 10.
It was for a while.
Okay.
But after some rearranging, it's just a little outside of it.
Okay.
And then my last honorable mention is Little Women.
Nice.
Really, really good cast. I think one of my favorite ensembles this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Extremely strong cast.
Yeah. And really incredibly well directed by Greta Gerwig. I love the look of the film and love the way it's shot. It's beautiful. It's a great movie.
I guess my honorable mentions, same thing. Knives Out, I would throw in there. Thought it was fantastic for all the reasons you mentioned. I think the ending shot is one of my favorite ones of the entire year. I thought that was brilliant. Art of Self-Defense, really underseen Jesse Eisenberg black comedy about a guy taking karate lessons. It was hilarious, and it was weirdly pointed in its political commentary. Last Black Man in San Francisco would be an honorable mention for me. That movie was just downright one of the prettiest things I saw all year. One of the best scores, too. The Farewell was one of the more emotional films that I saw this year. It was real close to being in my top 10 there. Pretty much like my number 10, 11, and 12 are all like a jumble there, and I ended up coming up with my number 10 at the last second. So that one was almost there. And then also High Life, the Robert Pattinson space movie, which did not make a lot of money. I don't think a lot of people saw it, but I really liked that movie. I thought it was super creative, and I loved the way it was directed.
Me too.
So I guess you want to jump into it with your number 10?
Well, I guess a perfect segue into my number 10 is High Life.
Oh, okay.
This is the kind of sci-fi I like. It's a very slow burn. It's not action-packed. It's very atmospheric. It has a very good theme. That has good themes to it and stuff like that.
It's almost like high concept without being high budget.
Exactly. Yeah. Really well, incredibly acted by Robert Pattinson.
Oh yeah.
Really well shot. Well paced and everything. And Mia Goth is a really good job in it.
Yep.
It's just a really good sci-fi movie.
Yeah, my only issue with it was there was some odd dialogue, but I think a lot of that was the fact that Claire Denis is a French writer and was trying to write in English for the first time. She hasn't done that before, so a couple lines felt a little weird. Yeah, but at the same time, the film had kind of this weird off tone to it, so it didn't completely bother me that much. My number 10, this was the one that I had a hard time with, honestly, out of everything. I put The Beach Bum, the new Harmony Korine film, as my number 10. I just wanted to make sure I got it in there. I already did a whole video on this channel, dissecting Spring Breakers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And why I love that movie. I think it's underrated. So obviously I'm a fan of his stuff. And this one fell into the same category where I think there's a lot more to it than a lot of people give it credit for. Even though it's still like a dumb stoner comedy, there is certain thematic elements going on that are kind of brilliant that you don't realize when you watch it the first time. And even putting that aside, the movie's just really entertaining. It's really funny. It's got one of McConaughey's most fun performances in a long time. And Zac Efron and Martin Lawrence's cameos in it are both hysterical. They're only in it for 5 minutes each, but they're fantastic. And oddly enough, this stupid stoner comedy may have had the best cinematography of the entire year.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's another bonus about it. But yeah, that's my number 10. I really love that movie.
Moving on to my number 9 is The Peanut Butter Falcon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, probably my... I was going to say it's my... I don't know. I just love this movie. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's a very nice, heartfelt movie. It's got a nice message to it. Really strong performance from Dakota Johnson and Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Really, just a really good story. Really nice, feel-good movie, I guess. That's what I'm kind of looking.
Yeah, it was one of those very cheery movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Watching it. Number 9 for me was Ready or Not, which was one of my favorite horror movies of the year. And again, kind of one of those underseen ones that I feel like nobody talks about. But that movie was awesome. And, Samara Weaving is consistently becoming one of my favorite horror actresses. I think she's great. I think she's super charismatic and funny. I thought this movie was super creative. It took something that would have probably been a generic, boring concept if anybody else made it. But the writers of this film decided to almost take a cabin in the woods approach, where a lot of expectations end up getting subverted, and there's a lot more comedy in it than you'd expect from the trailer, which made it look dead serious.
It is a really funny movie.
It's very fun, and the last 10 minutes of it are just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But they're awesome. Yeah, it's one of the most memorable horror movies of the year for me, for sure.
Yeah, this year wasn't too memorable in terms of horror movies.
Yeah, this was one that stood out to me, though.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
Yeah.
Number 8, Booksmart.
Okay.
Probably the best comedy movie this year. It's what was it? It's Olivia Wilde's directorial debut. Nice kind of homage to sort of old 80s high school movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even sort of kind of John Hughes movies. But just a really nice twist on the formula as well, and it's just really, really, really funny. Both the main actors in the movie, the actresses in the movie, are really, really good. Work really, really well off of each other.
Yeah.
This is one that's kind of I'm kind of sad it didn't do as well as it should have.
Yeah, this thing should have made a lot of money because it's everything people have been asking for. There's such strong characters and everything, and it unfortunately didn't make enough money.
Yeah.
Number 8 for me, this is going to sound real low because this is a lot of people's favorite movie of the year, but this was a really fucking strong year. So don't think that I didn't like this, but Parasite.
Oh, yeah.
I loved this movie. I really, really did, but it's just, this has been such a stacked year where I couldn't decide where to put things. And I think part of the reason why this one's lower than a lot of the other ones was maybe because it was a little overhyped to me. And that's not to say that it's bad at all. I actually think it might be one of easily top 3 of the year if I was just purely going off quality. I think it's one of the best. It's just not necessarily my favorite. But yeah, I think a lot of people hype this up as being the film to beat for the year. And when I saw it, I was like, that was fantastic. But also there was a bunch I liked more. And I guess because of that, it sort of got knocked out. But it's still, the entire cast is incredible. The production design's fantastic. The design of that house they had and all that stuff, and the way everything was decorated. Camera work's all great. It's probably one of the most unpredictable movies I saw all year. I went in expecting nothing because I didn't read into it or anything like that. And about a half hour in, I thought I knew where it was going, and then something happened, and then I did not know where it was going, and then another thing happened and went in a different direction. It's it's one of those movies where it constantly throws new stuff at you and keeps you engaged. It's definitely not a passive viewing experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Okay.
Kind of like what you were saying before, beautiful score, beautiful cinematography, everything. This movie is beautiful. It's a perfect kind of love letter to the city of San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
But also the story itself is really, really, really good. The cast is phenomenal. I love the two mains. They're so good. Just a really, really good story to it as well.
Yeah.
Very, very good movie. Highly recommend it.
To me, the star of that movie was its score, too.
Absolutely.
As soon as I got home after seeing that movie, I wanted to go download the score right away. I don't know the composer's name offhand, but whoever did that, great job.
Absolutely.
Number 7 for me was Under the Silver Lake, which originally was higher on my list, and then I watched it again last week, and I'll be honest, I kind of docked points on it because I still don't get it. So, I get aspects of it, but there's so much going on in this movie. This is the most movie that I saw all year, because there are so many different narrative threads and themes going on and random plot threads that get brought up and then are never addressed, but at the same time, that's kind of what I loved about it. It's just so unlike anything else that came out this year, and on a technical level, it's gorgeous. All the acting's great. It's unpredictable because you're confused the whole time, and it's a movie that's sure to provoke discussion with interpreting what the film meant. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to trying to piece together what the hell happened in this movie and what exactly the underlying theme is. So I think it's a fascinating movie from that respect. It's just I wish it felt more cohesive towards the end, I guess. But amazing movie, one of my favorites of the year for sure.
Yeah, me too. Actually, moving forward, that's my number 6. Is Under the Silver Lake.
Nice.
Just to kind of go off of what you were saying. Yeah, I love how original and unique it is in terms of the different narratives it has and stuff like that, and picking up watching it multiple times, and the more you pick up on it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Andrew Garfield's performance is really, really good. Same as Riley Keough. And she's really, really good for, even though she's not in it too much, when she is there, she's great.
Yeah. Well, even the people who are in 2 scenes, like Jimmy Simpson, who's his random buddy that keeps popping up at every party he goes to.
And Topher Grace shows up for a bit too. But you know, like it really well directed as well.
Oh yeah.
Because the guy who did this was the guy who did It Follows, and I love that movie. That movie's great, and I think also too with the delay this movie had as well coming out, it did live up. I think personally, it did live up to it.
I just wish I got to like see it in a proper theater.
Yeah.
Because I had to go to like some little independent chain on a really small screen to see it, and a lot of other people didn't even see it till it came out on Amazon Prime. Like that's the way they ended up seeing it. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I rented it when at home, and no, it's like it really did like kind of live up to my expectations like I had a year ago.
Yeah. Oh, I was really excited going into it, and I really liked it. So number 6 for me was The Lighthouse. This is one that my opinion's gone up on. I've seen it 3 times now.
Oh, okay.
And the first time that I saw it, I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I guess I just expected something different. Because The Witch is one of my favorite movies ever, which is Robert Eggers' last film.
Yeah.
And when I originally saw this, I was like, it doesn't quite feel the same. Like, it's not doing the same thing. But that was kind of wrong of me to hold it to that. Like, it's a different movie and everything.
Yeah.
So I watched it again, and it still wasn't quite there, where I was like, I still really, really like this. And then for some reason I watched it again last week and all of a sudden it clicked. And now I really like this movie. I still slightly prefer The Witch, but I think both are like 10 out of 10 level good. Like I think they're both fantastic. I think this is one of the best looking movies of the year.
Absolutely.
No doubt. The 2 lead performances are both incredible. Dafoe should have gotten an Oscar nomination. 100%.
About that. I'm very pissed about that.
Yeah. At least they got the cinematography one.
Yeah.
But yeah, just insanely creative, totally unpredictable. Layered in its themes and like references to Greek mythology and stuff like that. If you look into any of that, there's a lot going on with it. Probably like a couple of scenes in here stand out as like some of my favorite scenes of the year too. Like there's just a lot going for it, and the sound design too, which I think is kind of underrated because when people talk about this movie, they don't talk about its sound design, but like the soundscape in this thing is crazy.
It's phenomenal.
Even just like the opening with the loud fog horns, it creates this atmosphere immediately, and it holds that the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. My number 5 is Marriage Story. It's Marriage Story, honestly. Like it's one of it's definitely one of the best movies of the year. Definitely one of the best drama of the year.
I think it's the best cast of the year.
Best cast of the year.
Like everyone's giving it their all.
Yeah, just very, I guess, a very good realistic take on that subject matter.
Oh, for sure.
And like I know. When I first watched it, I compared it to Kramer versus Kramer.
Okay.
But Kramer versus Kramer is a little bit more one-sided on the views like of divorce and stuff like that. This I think it does like a really good job of portraying both sides of the divorce.
Yeah, no, you never really root for either of them. Like at different scenes, you root for them for different reasons, but you're never on anyone's side.
Exactly. Yeah, like both people like have like their reasons for divorcing and stuff like that, and like the reasons they both have good things and bad things about them. Like what was it with Scarlett Johansson, like her wanting her to find what she is, and like what she, like instead of just kind of being in the shadow of Adam Driver, she wants to find herself and be herself kind of thing. Yeah. And also with Adam Driver wanting to kind of still have a connection with his son, because he does truly love his son and doesn't want him to be out of his life in LA when he works in New York and stuff like that. But both have their problems as well. It's just it's a very true, honest kind of reflection on people and divorce.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say that's my number 5 also.
Okay.
Like you were saying, this is just one of the most like sympathetic movies of the year. Like you're able to understand everyone in it and where they're coming from. And like I said earlier, I think it's the best cast of the year. I think everybody here delivers like top tier performances, especially Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. But like even Laura Dern and Ray Liotta as their 2 lawyers, they were both great.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say Ray Liotta.
That scene when they're actually in court, and like going back and forth is fantastic.
Yeah, like with Ray Liotta, like I know like Laura Dern's getting a lot of praise, and which she deserves, but Ray Liotta deserves a lot of it too, because he did a really, really good job.
And this one, much like I said with The Lighthouse, there's scenes in this movie that are easily like some of my favorite scenes of the year.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't want to get specific with it, but the scene with the knife is still one of the best things that I've seen all year, because it's so sad but funny at the same time what's going on, and like the movie does that a lot, to be honest. It is a very funny movie, but it's also kind of a depressing watch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Regardless of if you've actually been through a divorce or your parents are divorced or whatever, I think anybody can watch this and understand what's going on and feel for the characters. You don't need to have been through that before.
Yeah.
Like it makes it super accessible, and Honestly, I would really like this one to win original screenplay. I don't think it has absolutely. A chance, but some of the dialogue here is so pointed and so well delivered, and I just hope it gets attention for that, but we'll see.
Well, no, like, I know it's a big thing with Noah Baumbach's scripts in general, but I love the overlapping of dialogue and stuff like that, and I don't know, it doesn't really...
It's very natural.
Yeah, absolutely. It never really gets recognized, but like I think with the hype it's getting, I hope they recognize it in terms of this screenplay, because it works really, really, really well.
Well, this movie also has a lot of subtlety to it. Like, I know people were passing around the argument scene, like the big climactic argument scene, saying like, oh, this is just overacting and whatever, but it's not in the context of the film. Because the film is extremely minimal up until that point. That's the blowing point, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Where they finally let it all out, and that's the whole point of the movie. Like, there is sort of this tension that you can feel the entire movie, and it's finally all let out in that scene.
Yeah.
And I think people are sort of missing that point when they just share that scene out of context. Because, if the whole movie was like that, that would be a little obnoxious, but it works in that context.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like, especially with the scene, now we're just kind of getting into a review of this movie, but like the scene before too, when it's just the two lawyers battling each other, and they're just quiet the entire time, and it's them kind of like attacking each other, and it's just, you can see them, and they're just kind of sitting there quiet.
Yeah. What's your number 4?
Parasite. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. Like, it's like incredibly, kind of like going off of what you were saying earlier. Like, it's really well shot. The story is phenomenal. Like, it is I loved how unpredictable it was, and like I went into it like as blind as I could possibly go into a movie, and yeah, like I really was taken by surprise at the twists and turns it did go on, and it was phenomenal cast, really well directed. It was great.
Number 4 for me is 1917.
Okay.
The first time that I saw this movie, I had it a little higher, but I'll be honest, like, it doesn't pack the emotional punch the second time. But holy shit, this movie! Like, that was literally my reaction walking at it. That was the first thing I texted my friends right after. Was like, I don't even know how to put into words what that was, because I hate that people are simplifying this movie to an extent where they're like, it's just a gimmick. Because I don't think it is. I think the gimmick functions to tell the story, because the whole point is it's about these two people. It's not about the war itself. It's about a self-contained story about taking a message to save another guy's brother. Yeah. That's it. It's not about winning the war. It's not supposed to cut around a lot and show the epic scale of the war.
Yeah.
It is a contained story within an epic environment, which never really gets done. People always focus too much on the action and stuff like that. This movie really only has like 3, maybe 4 moments where there's actual action.
Okay.
The rest of it is very, like, there's these subtle character moments in between, and in my opinion, like, I don't think the screenplay is incredible or anything like that. A lot of the dialogue's very run-of-the-mill, but you do get attached to these characters, and I think a lot of that comes from the quote-unquote gimmick. Because you spend literally all of your time with them. That's what the one continuous take does. You don't realize it, but in a normal movie, you cut back and forth, you see it from different people's perspectives. The entire movie is just from these two guys' perspective. And because of that, you actually start to care about them a lot quicker than you would in a normal movie, because they're the only two people you see. And also on that note, the one continuous take adds a lot to any time there's an action sequence in this movie.
Okay.
Because you're right there with them.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're in danger as a viewer. Like, the way this movie's done with the sound design, the visuals, all that stuff, it's incredible how they pulled this off. And I know it's not actually one continuous take. I know there's a couple really obvious edit points. There's a couple of weird uses of CGI, I guess, but like none of that pulled me out of it enough. Like, all of it was like a temporary blip where I was like, oh, that whatever, and just kept going with it. Like, it didn't actually bother me that much. And yeah, I don't know, I really don't have a lot of complaints about this one. And I guess my main point is that I don't like that people are simplifying it so much, because it really worked for me.
Yeah,
I know it's not going to be for everybody, but like I think this is definitely one that uses the technique correctly rather than just using it as a gimmick.
Okay. My number 3 is Uncut Gems.
Okay.
One of the most intense films definitely one of the most intense films this year, but like one of the most I've seen maybe this decade. Like, I've never bitten my nails throughout a movie because I was like on the edge of my seat kind of thing.
Yeah. And
it wasn't like necessarily because there was lots of action or anything like that. It was literally the scene I vividly remember biting my nail was there was a locked door and people trying to get in, And it was just like a couple minutes of like, oh my god, like trying to get this door open, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, and it's definitely one of the most intense movies I've seen this year. It's so good, and of course Adam Sandler's performance is phenomenal. Definitely one of the best, and honestly one of the most underrated performances of the year, I think.
Yeah, no, he should have been getting more awards hype than he did.
The story is really, really good too, in terms of like, I guess it's sort of similar in the sense to Good Time. How it is like you follow this character who is, for all intents and purposes, an asshole. And not a good person. Making the wrong decision. Yeah, keeps making the wrong decision, but when you kind of feel for him and you kind of like, in a weird way, kind of like are rooting for him. Yeah, it's just a really, really good movie.
My number 3 is my favorite horror film of the year, Midsommar.
Oh, okay.
So this movie I know is kind of polarizing. I feel like Hereditary was much more of like a 100% positive from the most part from everybody I talked to. This one, a lot more people I talked to were a bit more indifferent on it, I guess, or like thought that it paled in comparison. I personally liked it a lot more because although I think Hereditary is a scarier film, I think this is a much better film in pretty much every respect. Not discounting Toni Collette's performance or anything like that. But this one was just, the whole cast was so good. Like, especially Florence Pugh, and even, like, the whole supporting cast, what's his name, Will Poulter, who was kind of the comedic relief character, was great. And I think the movie actually benefited from having that. In a lot of movies, I complain about comedic relief, but in this one, it actually didn't feel like it ruined what was going on. It actually felt like it added to it. I love how much of this movie is, like, multi-layered and functions as a metaphor for a broken relationship. Like, there's a lot of stuff with that. There's a lot of hidden imagery in backgrounds of scenes that I didn't even realize until I started Googling it afterward and stuff like that. I just love the whole way that this movie plays out and plays with your expectation. And also, like, it's not a normal horror movie. Like, everything that happens is in daylight, unless you watch the director's cut. Which I think for a lot of people, I guess, took them out of it. Because they were like, oh, I'm so used to everything being scary and dark. But, like, I actually found that to make me more uneasy. That all this stuff was happening in broad daylight. Because you're so not used to that. Everything's so, like, clearly shown what's going on. And nothing's hidden and whatever. But, like, there's something really unnerving about that. And it's really effective because of that. But, yeah, this was just, like, favorite horror movie of the year, pretty much. Creeped the hell out of me. But also weirdly had an emotional weight to it. Like, there is kind of a warm sense to the ending. Like, the best way I could describe it is that when it ended, I had this feeling of, like, what? But also good for her. Like, it's kind of this weird, there's almost like a warm undercurrent to it. Makes you feel very strange, and it's a good movie to, like, discuss afterward, too.
Yeah, you definitely feel like it is an emotional roller coaster in terms of, like, Florence Pugh's character throughout the movie. You feel for her. You feel so bad for her throughout the entire movie. My number 2 of the year is Jojo Rabbit. Okay. I fucking love this movie. I had a hard time deciding if this was my number 1 or my number 2. Okay. But I love this movie. Like, I saw this movie like twice in theaters within the span of like 2 days, I think it was. It's hilarious. It's got this movie I had a very strong emotional connection to. Not and just in terms of just laughing, getting teary-eyed. Like, it's very sad, very uplifting, very heartfelt, very funny. It got a bunch of emotions out of me. It's such a really well told kind of coming of age story in World War II, Nazi Germany. Really uses the time and the setting really, really well to the story's benefit, and to the character's benefit. Honestly, I saw this before I saw Marriage Story, and I don't know. I'm having a hard time decide if Scarlett Johansson's performance in this is better than Marriage Story. I love them both, and I'm glad she's nominated for both, but I don't know which one I like more still. I think I still kind of prefer her performance in this, because I love her as the mom. Fair enough. And Taika Waititi as Hitler was was hilarious. He was so good. And the main kid was great. Sam Rockwell was like, the entire cast was great. Oh yeah. My number 2 was Uncut Gems. Oh, nice. This one improved a lot for me on second viewing. I just saw it like 3 days ago again, and I loved it the first time. Like, I reviewed it in my TIFF video, but something about it like worked even better the second time. It's not really a film that like you're gonna get a lot out of metaphorically or anything like that. Oh, yeah.
But it's just such a ridiculously intense movie, and it's so precise in like every aspect. Like the way the Safdie brothers directed this movie is just so tense. All the close-ups on people, like everything about it feels claustrophobic. Even the way the dialogue's spoken, people constantly cut each other off and talk over each other, and like there's a very angry sort of pace to the entire movie.
Yeah, definitely.
But it fits because that's the way everyone in the movie is. And like Sandler's amazing. Like I would love if he would actually win awards for this movie. But like besides him, the rest of the cast was great too. Like even Kevin Garnett, who's a basketball player, he was funny in this movie. Like he was genuinely really funny, and he played his part really well. And like there was all these small little cameo roles. Or I
like Lakeith Stanfield.
What's her name? Julia Fox.
Yeah, she was great.
She was great. Idina Menzel, who plays his wife. Like everyone in this movie was very, very good and very well cast. And like this was again one of those movies where I couldn't completely predict what was going on at any point in it. And the last 15 minutes are like one of the biggest nail biters I've seen in any movie. And the ending is just one of the most like satisfying, like realistic outcomes to a film like this, because it almost like, I don't know, it builds you up to something happening and then something else happens.
Yes,
like it's very well executed, and it genuinely, like both times that I've seen it, it gets an audible reaction out of the audience.
Absolutely,
everyone's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I did like. Yeah, I definitely loved the ending. I liked because the way, without obviously trying to reveal too much, like what they were going with, I was kind of disappointed that they were going with, but then they kind of did a turn, and I was like, oh my god, and kind of took me by surprise, and it was great.
Oh yeah, easily one of the best films of the year.
And my number one favorite film of the year is The Lighthouse.
Yeah,
I love this movie. This I did not see. Still haven't seen all of The Witch yet, so I still haven't drawn I can't really draw comparisons to that.
They are very different, because The Witch feels much more like a horror film, whereas this one feels much more like almost like a folk story but it's not as like in your face scary, I guess.
So yeah, like going into this, like I was going into it pretty blind, because like I'm not familiar with The Witch, so like I adored this movie, from the cinematography to both. Like I love Willem Dafoe in this movie. His performance is phenomenal, and I wish he did get nominated. But just as like I love Robert Pattinson just as much, I think
he's good in everything.
He is. Like his performance is really, really good. They worked off of each other incredibly well. Like their chemistry is like amazing in this movie. And I know like this is a thing with The Witch too, but like I know with this, like in terms of the dialogue, in terms of like the accents and stuff like that, Robert Eggers like really makes it feel like a period piece, not just with like they're wearing the same clothing or whatever, like in terms of the way they talk and stuff like that and everything. It's just, it feels like it's part of this like point in time, and it's phenomenal. Also love too, like this, I think after the first time I saw it, and even I kind of drew comparisons to Eraserhead a little bit, but not in the sense of like, because I think
both function heavily on like using imagery to mean something else.
But like I think when people, I always see like when people kind of see something, like when compare a movie to Eraserhead, when it's something like, oh, it's kind of artistic and like narratively vague, it's like, oh, it's like Eraserhead, it's like Eraserhead. It's like, no, Eraserhead is its own kind of thing. I personally, like with this movie, like it does have a strong narrative, and you could take it completely on face value. Yeah. But there's also so many things you can read into in terms of imagery and like Greek comparisons to Greek mythology and stuff like that. There's so much you can take away from this movie, and there's so many ways you can interpret it, and I love that. Yeah.
My number one's probably obvious if you saw my TIFF video, because it was the only 10 out of 10 I gave there, but Honey Boy.
Okay.
That movie, I kind of knew it was going to be my favorite movie this year the first time that I saw it, but seeing it a second time like totally confirmed it. This was by a mile the most emotional experience I had with any movie this year, and I don't know if that just has to do with me being really familiar with Shia LaBeouf to begin with, and like knowing a lot about him. So like watching this movie felt like you're literally watching him go through therapy, and there's this very like, it's such a down, depressing movie, but at the same time it kind of like lifts you up at the end. Like, it's one of those movies where it shatters your heart and then carefully puts it back together.
Okay.
Like, there are multiple moments in this movie that made me cry. Even more so the second time that I saw it, knowing they were coming, it actually got me worse. But it's just like, it's such a well-made movie. Shia LaBeouf's performance in it is incredible. Plays his dad. I fucking wish he was getting more hype for supporting actor, because he was amazing in this. Noah Jupe, fantastic child actor. He's been good in everything. He was in Ford v Ferrari also. He was good in that one. Yeah, everyone in this movie is good. Even like FKA Twigs, the musician, is in it for like a small cameo, and she was actually really good. And this movie's beautiful. The use of color is really, really interesting and really like fits with the theme that's going for. The score is amazing. I've been listening to the soundtrack like nonstop since I saw it. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, this is one of also the first times that I've seen a Lucas Hedges performance where I actually thought he was like outstandingly good. Because he plays pretty much like Shia now.
Yeah.
Shia plays his dad, and then Noah Jupe plays Shia as a kid. But it's, yeah, he was really good in this. And he was like, there's a good balance in this movie of like depressing shit and then like just being kind of funny. Like there is genuinely moments in this where I was laughing.
Yeah. Even
though it's such a down, depressing thing, because you're just watching this abusive relationship with the father and how it affected him as an adult. But yeah, it's one of those movies where I think anybody who watches this will probably have way more respect for Shia LaBeouf afterward, because you'll kind of get why he's the way he was and was going through that phase for a while.
Yeah.
But regardless of if you're familiar with the guy or not, I think you'd think this is a good movie. I've showed it to multiple people now. I showed it to my parents, and everyone I've shown it to has really, really liked it. So I think it's actually pretty accessible for what it is.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess that concludes our List. I'll put our social media links down below, and we're probably going to follow this one up with sort of like a podcast video talking about some other stuff from the year rather than just our best. So keep an eye out for that.